We are getting evil today in Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel. You can tell by my wings and by the Pumpking, the King of Grave Ghosts, currently on your screen. Now, I was unbelievably excited when I saw that Pumpking, along with Call of the Haunted and all the others, were getting retrains, and then unbelievably disappointed when I saw that they just weren't that strong. But today we're going to be trying out the deck in the Legend Anthology to see if I was right all along, or if this deck actually has the bones of something fantastic buried beneath the grave. Since many of you may be unfamiliar with the Pumpking strategy and what it can do, I thought I'd do a brief rundown of the cards and their effects and generally the game plan before we got into the games to make sure no one was lost. Basically, your best starter is Pumpking, the King of Grave Ghosts, who can set one Call of the Haunted from your deck and then discard a card from your hand. The Call of the Haunted can be activated that turn to bring back the card you discard, and oftentimes you're just going to send Pumpking and bring him back, because when he's special summoned, you can special summon one level 6 zombie monster from your deck except itself, and then you can't special summon from the hand or graveyard for the rest of the turn except zombies, which in this deck doesn't matter because you're kind of only playing zombies. So Pumpking can bring to the field Chang-Chi. Chang-Chi, during the main phase, can send one zombie monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and most of the time you'll send Glow-Up Bloom. Now, Glow-Up Bloom, when sent to the graveyard, can add one level 5 or higher zombie monster from your deck to your hand, which means you can add Stare of the Snakehair, which can discard to add another Call of the Haunted spell trap, or Officiating Reverie, who can discard another card in order to special summon herself and be another 6 to extend. Now, with your 6s, you can go into something like Pumpking, who also adds a Call of the Haunted card, any monster, spell, trap, what have you, and then you can detach one map from this card to target up to 2 cards in the field and return them to the hand. Now, this effect is nice even turn 1, because if you Call of the Haunted a monster back, like Pumpking, and then overlay, the Call of the Haunted stays on the field. So, Pumpking lets you detach a monster that you want in grave anyway to bounce the used Call of the Haunted, which you can then reset. The other cards to note here are Ectoplasmic Fortification, which, if you control no monsters, can add one level 6 zombie monster or one Call of the Forgotten from your deck to your hand, alongside Call of the Forgotten, which lets you set up to 3 Call of the Haunted from your deck and or graveyard, but it has a pretty oppressive zombie lock. The other thing all of these cards do is when summoned or when summoned back or when summoned from the graveyard, they have really nice effects. Call of the Forgotten, for example, says if you activate Call of the Haunted, you can target one monster your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard. Sadly, a once per turn, but it is a soft once per turn. Stare of the Snake-Eye is a monster negate and locks it from being used as material for Fusion, Synchro, Exi, or Link Summon, which can be completely game-ending. Great Mammoth is a pop, and that's kind of it. Alongside these, you have some pretty powerful endboard pieces in Vortex of Time, which can change the effect of an opponent's monster to be a banish. And if they flip tails, it's a banish their entire field. If they flip heads, you have to banish a card. So it's not amazing, and its restrictions of when to activate are pretty strict, but like, it's really funny when it goes off. You know, that's good. Decks are playable because they're funny, right? And then we have Deadly Zombie Breath, which is a send to the graveyard, and then in the graveyard, it can act as another send to the graveyard for your and your opponent's monsters, but not both in the same turn, because that would be just too dang playable. With that, I think you have a pretty good sense of what the deck does and what it wants to do. Alongside Pumpking, I should mention as well Officiator of Doom Samuel, who is a monster negate and a zombie revive, alongside the Undying Legion, who's a monster steal. And then you have generic zombie cards like Delta of Invitation and Doom King Ballardrock, which can raise your ceiling if you already have everything you need. With that, let's get spooky with it. So here we are with our zombies ready to get spooky, and wouldn't you know, we lose the coin. But that's okay. We're in kind of a lower powered format, and we have a couple pushes in hand, which I'll talk about now. Ectoplasmic Fortification can add any of our Call of the Haunted monsters from our deck to our hand. Delta of Invitation can bin a high level zombie monster, which can plus us as well. And worst case, we can activate Call of the Forgotten, set 3 Call of the Haunted, and try to play on our opponent's turn. Now we're watching a full Salamangreat combo, and in rated ladder regularly I might scoop here, but because we're in Legend Anthology, the power of the format's a little bit lower, and I'm happy to give it a shot. I also really like Salamangreat. I think they're a really cool strategy, and I'm sad that we don't get to see them that much in like actual play. I think they got kind of overlooked in Snake Eye format, and now there's just almost no reason to play them. Their M board just isn't strong enough, as we may or may not be seeing in this game. But they do all the fun stuff. They set 3 and pass, and that's the other reason Salamangreat kind of troubles me, is they end up kind of being a set 3 and pass deck with like 1 or 2 more interruptions on field more often than not. I know they do other cool things, but to me, this is the most frequent Salamangreat end board, this or well a Nib token. But we draw Stare for turn, which is another push, which is awesome. We send a Reverie to the grave because I realize I don't have many great sends in the deck at the moment. They Ash our Stare, but we can now summon out Changshi the Spirit Owl, which then they pop. So we activate Ectoplasmic Fortification to go into Pumpking the Great King of Ghosts, and then we set Call of the Haunted, pitching our Pumpking to bring back our Pumpking, and then they go Impulse. And I'm like, all right, well, so it goes. We activate Call of the Forgotten, setting Call of the Haunted, and Call of the Haunted, and then setting a third Call of the Haunted and passing back. And I'm like, okay, I mean, who knows? Maybe this is enough pieces of interruption. We activate Call of the Haunted at the start to summon back Stare of the Snakehair, turning the Salamangreat Raging Phoenix off from being able to use itself as material to link summon. This means that they can't summon Raging Phoenix over Raging Phoenix to search any spell trap, which I'm hoping cuts them off of some plays, and then we can use the Call of the Forgotten to send Mirage Stalio, meaning that they end with kind of nothing on the field. Now, they do have 20 billion resources in Grave, but you know what? We got 2 more Call of the Haunteds. What more could you ask for? They continue to combo off. They go into Heatleo here. Heatleo shuffles back one of our Call of the Haunteds. Who, you know what? We have 1 Call of the Haunted left. What more could you ask for? They go into Access Code Talker. I think this is one of the few plays that actually ends up losing to Call of the Haunted. So we summon out Pumpking the King of Ghosts, summon out Great Mammoth to pop the access code, and now we're kind of chilling? They go Signet Mining for Gazelle, which can special summon itself because they discarded a Salamangreat, but whatever they pitch, I just don't see it making a huge difference. They go into a Baylynx and they set the trap, they continue cooking, they give us a Falco and pass back, and I'm like, well, we just have to beat 1 Rage. And you know what? I think we can, especially with that Unizombie. We go into Pumpking the Great Ghost King. It gets ashed, but that search was never mattering for us. We can pitch 1 in order to bounce Tua, including our Pumpking, which is amazing news. They pop our Pumpking, which is no big deal because we can go Undying Legion and then bin a Gub with Unizombie. We can activate Glow Up Bloom to search our Pumpking that we were going to add back to hand anyway, reset a Call of the Haunted from Grave, send ourselves to the graveyard, and then Call of the Haunted us back. Here we go. We are now off to the races, or should I say off to the graveyards, as we link off into Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. Now we Mizuki banish away, and they know that they've lost. See, and you thought Pumpkins couldn't win a game, and you thought Pumpkins couldn't win a game. Now here we are, and we've lost the coin again, which you might consider a grave mistake, but some like me just see it as an opportunity to rise from the... No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. They activate 7th Tachyon, adding Ocean Dragon Lord Kairyu-Shin, and I'm like, oh great, we're against Umi Stun. Who wouldn't want to play Umi Stun in the Legend Anthology event? I guess it's fun because we're playing anime decks, and this is like Mako versus Bonz, but ultimately, I see myself getting floodgated, but it's no big deal. We're going to start Pumpking the Grave King of Ghosts anyway. Then we activate Curse of the Ancient Turtle in order to send a Gub. Gub is going to add to hand a Stare of this... Oh, sorry, an Army of the Haunted. I forgot my own play. We're going to summon back Pumpking. We can't summon anything out, but we're going to attack into the Jellyfish. Main phase 2 comes. We're going to set 2 more. And now the important thing you have to see here is that we have the Vortex of Time set. If you forget, this one is the one where if they flip tails, they banish all monsters they control. So we wait for them to activate a monster effect. We flip Vortex of Time. They flip tails. They banish everything. Then they summon an Electric Jellyfish, and I think they got not much left, especially after we draw Unizombie. Because we're no longer floodgated, we can go into Pumpking the Great Ghost, who eats an Imperm, but that's not that big a deal. One of the great things about this is that you can still detach for cost, so we do get a Pumpking into the grave, which we can just summon back. Pumpking will summon out a Changshi the Spirit Owl, we send a Mizuki to revive later, and then we can go to Officiator of Doom Sabio, pitching our Pumpking again, summoning back our Pumpking, and negating the Jellyfish. Then we Unizombie, and they scoop it up. Apparently, pumpkins are greater than the ocean? It's like news to me, but I guess it makes sense. So here we are, and we've lost another coin, but if you think this deck can't win games going second, you haven't been paying attention. Maybe it's even best at that. That's not true, it's not. I promise it's not. I promise it's not. The games have just been going extremely well for us. They're gonna lock off into a Silhouette Rabbit. Did I just say lock off? That's fine. We're gonna activate Millennium Ankh. Summon out the Unstoppable Exodia, which shuffles back the Silhouette Rabbit anyway, and they set an Exod Fires of Rage. And I'm like, okay, that's just a board wipe and a Spell Trap Negate, and the Spell Trap Negate gets eaten right now. Perfect. Now we can go here into Ectoplasmic Fortification in order to grab Pumpking, the King of Grave Ghosts. They're gonna Droll us, and I'm like, why are people playing Droll? I haven't seen Droll activated in an anime once. Why is it in the anime event? Nonetheless, we summon back Pumpking. Pumpking summons out Stare of the Snake Eye, who can negate the Exodia forever. They Exod pop us, but right now they just have a useless Chud on the field. And you know what? What are they gonna do? They battle, they realize they're not gonna do anything, they pass back to us. Now, we have a ton we can do. We have, of course, Foolish Burial off the top, which can send a Glow-Up Bloom, which can search us anything we want, and I choose Pumpking, the Great King of Great Ghosts. We're going to activate, resetting our Call of the Haunted, pitching our Doom King Ballardrock, and then bringing back the Pumpking. We're saving the Stare of the Snake Harris plays for later. They're going to pitch the Exod in order to add an Arm of Exodia here. We go for the Mammoth. The Mammoth pops the trap, but they just flip it again, and that explodes our entire life. Now we can go Stare of the Snake Eye, adding Call of the Forgotten, activating Call of the Forgotten, then setting 3. This is always so fun to just have 3 Call of the Haunted. Like, I don't know, you couldn't even do this in Edison, where Call of the Haunted's at 1. We summon out Ballardrock because we have a field spell on the field. Then they go Sang Engine. We activate Deadly Zombie Breath, targeting our Ballardrock and the Sang Engine to send both. They realize they're cooked next turn with all of our calls, and they scoop, proving that Pumpkins are not only better than Ocean, they're better than the Unstoppable Exodia. So, I don't know, write that one down. And here we are, a game going first, our final game of the day, and we have a pretty good hand with Pumpkin and Unizombie, the next 2 best starters, and of course Call of the Haunted is in our hand just to brick us alongside the other brick that, you know, you play bricks, you're gonna draw bricks, right? There's nothing you can do about it. We activate Unizombie, sending Glow-Up Bloom. Glow-Up Bloom's gonna banish in order to add Stare of the Snake Heir to our hand. Then we'll go Pumpkin, setting a Call of the Haunted before Call of the Haunting back our Pumpkin. Pumpkin is going to summon out a Chang-Chi the Spirit Owl, who will bin an Army of the Haunted, who will summon out to get us another 6 on field before these 2 go off into a Red-Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. They nib us, and I'm like, okay, that sucks, but it's okay. Even in replays, the token takes forever to calculate. We're going to pitch Stare of the Snake Eye, going for a Call of the Forgotten. Call of the Forgotten is going to set 2 Call of the Haunteds alongside an Imperm. And we're kind of chilling here, depending on what they want to do. We see a Yubel fusion come out, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then they summon out Grinder Golem, or Geist Grinder Golem, I should say. We do have an Imperm for the Spirit of Yubel, so they can't send up the Nightmare, but they do have the Nightmare Throne. Like, okay, that gets a Grave Squirmer. I'm gonna go Call of the Haunted here for the Pumpkin. Try to just get some stuff out here. We chain block the Pumpkin with the spell, so they can't use Phantom of Yubel's effect to replace, but every other effect is activating. We activate Stare of the Snake Heir here to just negate whatever it is they decide to summon, and we choose the Yubel Terror Incarnate. And I'm not exactly sure why. I guess it doesn't matter, though it can still be used as Phantom material because Yu-Gi-Oh is a lawyer game. They're going to summon Linkaribo to the Cross Sheep Square, but they're just going to attack in, gain 3,000, and then pass back to us. After summoning out, of course, a Dark to steal our Zombie Lord, which is of no consequence, nor is the Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon that they decided to summon. They send it to the grave to pop 2 Call of the Haunteds, which actually works out great for us, because now they can be reset, which is amazing value. But we're in a good spot here. We link to upper Dampier Vampire Sheridan because we have a card our opponent controls, which can be used as material for it, and then send the token to resummon Red-Eye Zombie Dragon. We summon out Army of the Haunted to go into Flying Mary, the Wandering Ghost Ship, before resetting Call of the Haunted with Army of the Haunted. Then we force out the Phantom of Yubel, which is just, you know, a step we just needed to take at some point. They get a Yubel onto the field, and we can summon back out Pumpkin using Ghost Mary's effect, summon out Stare to negate the Yubel. Then we go Pumpkin in order to bounce 2, after, of course, adding our Pumpkin, the King of Grave Ghosts, and resetting a Call of the Haunted, bringing him back. Oh, sorry, bring back the Mammoth to pop the throne, and then we bounce all of the things that were going to recur. Now we can go into the Undying Legion and then attack him with the Primal Being token they gave us, attack him with Dampier, attack him with the Mammoth, and attack him with the Undying Legion. Now I realized that I left them on 550 life points, and I'm like, You know, if any deck can come back from this, it's Yubel. But we bring back the Doom King Balrog Rock to fortify our defenses. They shuffle 2 back for the Phantom of Yubel, and then scoop, realizing they don't got anything else to do. Which means that zombies are stronger than the ocean, stronger than Exodia, and stronger than, I don't know, is Yubel really, like, that powerful? You know what? I'm going to call it a tier 0 meta deck and say, holy crap, Pumpking even beats a tier 0 meta deck. Oh, well, those are the games. I want to return to the deck list for just a second to talk about strengths and weaknesses, whether or not this deck is worth playing in actual Yu-Gi-Oh, and my overall thoughts on the deck. So I'll see you there in just a sec. So we're back with the deck, and I think this list is fun. I think that's the best word for it. These cards feel really fun to play, and they also feel like they accomplish a lot. I think this deck, I know I already used the bones joke, but I really do think this deck has the bones of a strategy that could be really powerful. If I were to make a customized version of this deck, I would probably go down to 2 Call of the Haunted, even though it feels really bad to do so, considering how much of your plays revolve around them, especially when you're interrupted. But they do recycle easily, and I think that that might be one of the best things you could do with the strategy, is basically just not brick. I do think that this trap is decent enough as an end board piece that it gives your deck a game plan. Like, it helps. You can interrupt your opponent enough. Vortex of Time, while it is the funniest card ever printed, should probably also not see play. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, you probably shouldn't play it, but if you are just the GOAT, which, hey, you might be, give it a go. It almost never feels like the right search. Ectoplasmic Fortification is a great consistency tool. Pumpking full 1-card combo feels great, and I don't even think I ever pulled it off fully. And I think Zombie has a lot of good tools, just generically, that can help this deck play. But this deck also doesn't feel like a generic zombie deck. I know that it only generically locks you into zombies, but it feels like the Call of the Haunted game plan and the bricks you need to play are similar to, but not exactly, what other zombie decks are trying to accomplish, and the amount of engine you need to play for the Pumpkin cards to be solid is enough that it's probably not worth teching in many other zombie decks. If you look at the non-engine slots here, they have room for Doom King, Mizuki, a second Chang-Chi, because I think 1 is required, 3 Unizombie, a Glow-Up Bloom, and like 3 Imperms. Maybe. Like, I guess the Delta of Invitations could be swapped out. Like, I think this is a deck that needs some doing, but is really fun to pilot, and while not super powerful, has a surprising amount of interruptions, a surprising amount of recursion, and like a surprising amount of ways to annoy your opponent. And I think that's maybe the best way to describe this deck. It's fun for you, it's annoying for your opponent, but it's not, you know, good for you and bad for your opponent. It's not that, you know, valence. It's kind of annoying for your opponent and really fun for you. Overall, those are my thoughts of the deck. Let me know what you think about Pumpking below. If enough people want to see it, we will build Pumpking ourselves. But for now, it was just a fun little thing to play in the anime event. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, thank you so much to all of our channel members, and especially our shout out tier members, Tealbeard and Marco1504. If you're interested in supporting the channel and becoming a channel member, check out the link in the description. You get early access to every video that I make as a channel member, and if you want to be a shout out tier member, you also get a shout out like this at the end of every video. Nonetheless, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.